and welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks, where nothing you can do with a fork is against the law.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Master of Peace Theater. Salute. Today, Grace, Bevan, and I will be discussing a new album by a couple of sisters from California, Jennifer and Jessica Calvin.
Interesting. So the band themselves are called Bleached, and this particular album is Welcome the Worms. Daryl, what did you think of it?
I really like this album. I was at the store and it was a blind buy. I picked it up. I think it was in California, actually. I picked this up with their California girls, and I put it on, and I instantly kind of liked it, and then it grew on me from there.
Interesting. I have to admit, I kind of take a different stance on it. To me, it kind of sounds like everything capital I indie has been for the past 5 or 6 years, so nothing really stood out to me about it. Like, I liked it. I enjoyed listening to it, and I found that it was definitely something you could sort of just leave on. But there wasn't anything that really stood out to me. It felt like, you could switch it out with any given song on like the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack and no one would really notice.
Very interesting. I mean, for me, I really like the tunes. There were bands, it's a very, I would say 90s kind of sound to them. There was a lot of, at times they reminded me of Concrete Blonde. There was a bit of Carol Pope, I think, in her vocals at times. Or Kaneki is a band from the 90s, a girl band from England that it reminded me of. I just thought the tunes kept going. I thought the quality of the tunes kept going. And in fact, I had down here, like the 8th song in the Desolate Town was the 8th song on the LP. And I thought, well, how many albums have a song this good 8 songs deep into an album?
I have to admit, I really found, especially the beginning of the B-side, with a lot of the songs, they hit a lot harder, which is kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, I think that for some reason the B-side, I agree with you, that the B-side, and that never happens, where the B-side is better than the A-side.
Mm-hmm. Except for Carly Rae Jepsen, Emotion B-sides. That is a good one.
That's beyond my realm of, that's not off the beaten track enough, I guess, for me.
It's pretty very much on the beaten tracks.
Yeah, I thought All Over the Place, they had certain sounds, like I'm All Over the Place was a little Leader of the Packy, but it had its own style, and another band it reminded me of was Sleeper. I thought the first song was it was an unusual choice to put those Sympathy for the Devil hoo-hoos in that song. It was just, I don't know, when they came in I thought, well, that's a little reminiscent.
I almost wish they had in their actual music, not necessarily the vocal melodies, but like the instrumentation in the music, gone in a little harder and punched a little harder to like sort of counterbalance it. I think in research we talked about it being crash pop kind of thing, and I almost wanted it to crash more. For me, it very much reminded me of Wolf Alice or Courtney Barnett, and like what both of those acts have that I was kind of missing here was a little bit more attack in the music itself, harder guitar, harder bass, harder beat in general, to sort of counterbalance that very sweet voice that you're finding with the lead. But I think that's why the B-sides worked so well, is because they started coming in a little punchier. Yeah, more back to Riot Girl almost a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I gave this album, I can see you're going to be a little lower than me, I gave it like a 7 to a 7.5, because I quite like this.
I would say it's like a 6.5 to a 7 to me. Like, it's not, I have ragged on it. It's not a bad album. It's just, for me, very standard. Like, there wasn't, I would hear this on Indie 88 and I wouldn't even, like, register what was going on kind of thing. Which is, honestly, the hallmark of something that's definitely hitting all the benchmarks of time and a place, I think. That being said, with the cover, I really like the cover. I think it's so fun that they went for detailing as if it was a lot older than it was. I think the photo is fun. Not much to write home about necessarily, but I do love that they're going for a more throwback style. It does feel a little bit more DIY, like you were seeing in 90s riot girl bands, things like that. I'd probably give the cover about an 8.
See, I give the cover about a 4.
Yeah?
And there is a bit of throwback. It reminds me a tiny bit of the Slits cover, except they've got their shirts on. But I don't know. There was something... It's okay to me. It's an okay cover. It's not something... And I'm putting a lie to it because I saw it in the racks and I picked it out. But it's not an album that you'd be flipping through the racks and go, oh, wow, what's that? That's just my view. And I think I posted this on Facebook. And a number of people on Facebook, an older crowd perhaps, didn't cotton to this as much as you have.
I think it's very much, that might actually be a hallmark of the difference between our generations, because I remember in past episodes we've talked about covers that you absolutely love, which is just a picture of a singer. And now here we have a picture of a band, and I'm like, oh yes, this is very
Maybe there's just too many people on the cover, I'm confused.
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I think we've got an interesting perspective from young and old here. We kind of like things together. Some of the things we don't like. We like side 2. We differ on the cover. You'll have to make your choice on this. Join us next time for Mr. LP's Theater. Grace and I.
Okay. Okay.